we've got the dreaded Dryads. This was actually a request by me for some rank 9 Wood Elf action, as I know some of you guys have been craving that lately, and who better to lead him than Dryka, but Slade's tactics have turned against him as I've been broadcasting them on YouTube, and you can see that he's against a full Vanguard Empire opponent here. Hasn't quite gone with the rank 9 free company, but similar situation to what we saw Slade do before with Marcus and a bunch of Huntsmen. Free company militia, he's got Zintler's Reichsguard and some regular Empire Knights that are sort of eating the cost of all those chevrons, and then a Bright Wizard as well. For Slade's Vanguard force, he's got Drake leading the way. Dryads, plenty of them, 5 of course, including the Race of the Frozen Heart. We've got some Glade Riders with spears, and 3 Zotes, including the Enigmas of Gairan. So quite a bit of healing to be done from these guys. The elite anti-large AP also will protect against potential Knights of the Blazing Sun, of which there are none in this particular Empire build. Obviously, Knights of the Blazing Sun are the absolute bane of Dryads. Dryads, in terms of chevrons, they're probably not one of the most efficient units because they do pay a little bit of premium for their Vanguard deployment, armor, magic damage, physical resistance, immune to psychology. They've got a lot of technical stuff going on, sort of with abilities and so forth, but 32 melee defense, 42 melee attack, definitely not bad. The Empire Knights are going to be hammering in, getting a pretty good charge there. Dryads, of course, physical resistance and armor does allow them to resist quite a bit of that damage, though. Empire Knights don't have the highest charge bonus to begin with, so it should be just fine. Dryads now getting close into range here. We'll get close to her as her Dryads begin to angrily waddle, tumble across the field here. Try and get into combat. Going to get a nice Umbral Pendulum to just whack one unit of Free Company militia right off the bat. And then, of course, Glade Riders also charge in on the flanks there. Nice little noble hammer and anvil with those Dryads, Zotes in the near side here. Just hammering away at these Empire Knights. They're also going to detach and just charge into the front line. They're taking a huge amount of concentrated fire. They have not used their Flesh to Stone on themselves. Let's see if we can kind of keep a wide view and watch for those buffs to pop up as a Burning Head gets used. Yeah, it's sort of an awkward situation to try and use it in, considering the Dryads have already collapsed this flank very aggressively, and there's not really a good line to cast down. But that being said, the Zotes are taking significant damage, and, you know, the Huntsman's anti-large. It looks like one of them did get the Flesh to Stone there. And, yeah, Flesh to Stone also on the Race of the Frozen Heart puts them up to 120 armor. 120 armor also for the Zotes there, so pretty good stuff. Helps them resist quite a bit of the Huntsman fire, even with the anti-large bonus. Gonna see a nice bit of shades here from Dryka also in the center. She is getting hammered pretty hard. Leadership's not that great, but this is going to be the end of these Empire Knights and those poor Free Company militia, the Regiment of Renown. Sterling's Revenge here, just getting absolutely clobbered by that spell. That being said, we've also got some Dryads here, Glade Riders, that can continue to collapse this flank down. More Flesh to Stone on those Zotes. Excellent synergy there to just self-cast that. Marcus Wolfhart maneuvering away. I'm not really sure what he's been focused on, to be honest, in terms of his shooting. But, yeah, focusing on the Zotes definitely be a good call. Question is, can he actually deal enough damage to them? They don't have any physical resistance. Nice fireball there. Blast one Zote down. He out. He is fully gone. That being said, the mobile units here, Glade Riders with spears, helping to clean up the Dryads. I mean, besides the Race of the Frozen Heart, and I guess this other Dryad here, relatively healthy. They generally took quite a bit of damage, which is not too surprising. Actually, this one, maybe not. Maybe I take that back. They managed to prevail pretty heavily there. And the Vanguard Vanguard Empire force, of course, Free Company and Huntsman, both being pretty squishy to an aggressive attack unit like the Dryads, of course, and angry Dryka as well, doing some nice attack animations with the Zotes, sending these Huntsmen tumbling down the hill. Nice shot in there by Marcus. The Empire is pretty quickly going to approach army losses here as more fireballs rain in from the Fire Wizard. Glade Riders with spears also punching through. But Dryads just proved to be too much. Zintler's Reichsguard are going to do some here. Sterling's Revenge, armor-piercing damage will help them a little bit. Again, the 60 armor is kind of what I would consider medium armor. It's pretty good. It helps a bit, but it's not the most substantial, right? In that kind of 60 to 80 range. That units with that much armor, it's good, don't get me wrong, but the closer you get to 100 and the further you can go above 100, basically the better. Up to a certain point, you do start to get a little bit of diminishing returns on the top end, but it also means that, like, almost guaranteed 100% of the non-armor piercing damage, if you're at, say, 160 armor, you know, it's 80 to 100% of the non-AP damage will be resisted on a given hit. So, yeah, it's kind of the greatest area of variability is at 90 or 100 armor, right? Because you have either 50 to 100%, which is a pretty sizable swing given on a dice roll. But, of course, all units also have a little bit of armor-piercing damage, even if they don't have primary armor-piercing damage. And anyway, at this point, Marcus is going to try and run. Not a lot that he can do, though, to get away from the Zotes and angry Dryka. Fireplay is going to throw in the towel there, and it's a victory for Slade, prevailing against, of course, we all know that the Empire player played very well here, actually did bring a caster, but didn't take rank 9 everything, so that's probably why he lost. Slade also technically didn't take rank 9 everything, but the Dryads do perform quite well. They probably cost around about a 700. We'll have to check that here in just a minute, but the rest of the units kind of tandeming and supporting those Dryads well. Of course, the Zotes also support each other well. A big blob of Zotes can be surprisingly hard to deal with. Reich also with some good spell placement there. And the Free Company generally just struggled. I mean, a couple of them managed to pay for themselves here. The Huntsmen also, same thing. A couple of them pay for themselves, but generally have a tough time. Empire Knights are largely a letdown. Hitler's Reichsguard do manage to pay for themselves, and I definitely think you'd want to just go with Knights of the Blazing Sun here, just for the extra fire damage. Even if Wood Elves end up not bringing many tree units, the magic resistance of the Knights of the Blazing Sun is quite beneficial there. So let's just quickly check the value for my own sake on the Dryads here. If we go to the Wood Elves, so regularly, yeah, 800. Okay, so I was off a little bit, but that's pretty close. I mean, the Regiment of Renown, you gain, you know, Frostbite and Frenzy for an extra 25 points, which is great value, to be honest. Frenzy, in particular, for the extra weapon damage and attack, does benefit them quite a bit. But, I mean, it's a pretty expensive price. Again, 800 points per unit with decent enough stats. They're kind of an ersatz kind of DPS type unit, right? Not the greatest armor-piercing damage in the world, only 5 AP. Pretty poor. But against a lightly armored faction, that magic damage too does mean they'll trade quite well into demons in the future, right? Once the Immortal Empire's releases. But, of course, a lot of demons also have fire damage in the case of Khorne and Tzeentch. So it should be very interesting. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button every time I upload a new video. You'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.